Okay, Shannon, please put us on the record now. Okay. Oh, this is what I was looking for. All right, we are on the record in the matter of the Campbell and Baez Campbell minors. Looks like we've got the mother, Christine Campbell, present. We have the father, Stephen Campbell, present. Mr. Way on behalf of the petitioner, and also Anthony Moore on behalf of the agency. Mr. Campbell, you have been named as a respondent in this action. You are entitled to be represented by an attorney, either one of your choosing, or if you can afford one appointed for you by the court. Would you like the court to appoint someone to represent you this morning?
I have a lawyer. Phil Curtis.
Give me just a second. Is Mr. Curtis aware of the hearing this morning?
Yes.
Are you expecting him to appear?
No, he said he didn't have to be here, I guess. I don't know.
Well, that's an attorney's job when he's taken on representation of a client to be present in court when there's a hearing relating to that client. In any event, if you're going to be represented, I don't need to worry about appointing an attorney for you. You have some other rights. In addition to the assistance of counsel, you have the right to a trial. The trial could be before a judge or before a jury if you make a timely jury demand. Do either of you, Mr. and Ms. Campbell, have any Native American ancestry?
I do.
Supposedly.
Do you know what tribe that is?
No, I do not.
Is there someone in your family who you could contact to find out what tribe that might be?
We only found this out through the 23andMe just recently. The DNA.
Is that that's a DNA test?
Yes.
All right. So up until then, you were not aware of that ancestry and hence no idea what tribe it is?
No.
Did the DNA test give you any sense of how much Native American ancestry there was, percentage-wise?
For me, it was like just shy of 22. It's like 21 something.
All right. So, Mr. Moore, I know there's a procedure for contacting tribes and letting them know that there's a potential for, if we don't have a specific tribe to contact, I know there's an agency that you're supposed to contact. You're probably more familiar with that than I am, but we need to follow up and make sure that if there is a potential for tribal involvement, that they're apprised of their right to participate in the proceeding.
Absolutely, Your Honor.
So, Mr. Campbell, you do have the right today to admit or deny or to offer an explanation to the petition if you choose. I certainly have to extend that right to you, but my advice to you would be that you not do anything until you have your attorney present.
Okay. I'll call him today.
All right, I do have a phone number listed. It's unlikely that an attorney would sign in that way, but let me just see to make sure he didn't call in.
Okay.
I just got a telephone number into the hearing ending in 6347. What is your name, please?
Brianna Paraso,
Spell the last name.
P-A-R-I-S-E-A-U.
All right, I'm going to put you back in the waiting room. I just wanted to see who it was.
Alrighty.
We'll bring you out when we call your case.
He asked me something.
I don't think so.
Okay, no, I didn't, sir. I was talking to the person that had called into the hearing. I was trying to find out who it was, just to make sure it wasn't Mr. Curtis, and it was not. Okay, so this is an in-home petition. What I'm going to do is schedule another pretrial. Sir, you need to inform your attorney if he's going to represent you. I expect him to be at every hearing. He needs to file a written appearance with the court. If you could please pass that information on to him. He should know that already, but just to make sure there's no question. What I'm going to do is adjourn this pretrial for a week so that we can have attorneys present and have a meaningful conversation going forward. So Shannon, set this for next Tuesday at 8:30. And I will set a trial date at that time. Ms. Campbell or Mr. Campbell, do either of you have any questions for me before we move on to the next case?
I do.
Go ahead, ma'am.
I was wondering about taxes. I would like to claim my children on taxes, as I put insurance on them throughout all of 19 and half of 20 through Priority Health through my job. And I had them the majority of the time.
Ma'am, I can't help you with that. I suggest you contact an attorney.
Okay.
I'm assuming suspended parenting time is being recommended, Mr. Moore?
Yes, Your Honor.
Under the nature of the allegations, I believe that's appropriate. But I'll be able to address it again next week, Mr. Campbell, if your attorney is present so that he can participate.
Okay.
All
Okay.
right. All right, thank you. That concludes our hearing on this matter.
All right.
Do I need a phone number or something?
Thank you, Your Honor.
Your attorney will know how to contact the court to participate, if that's what you're asking.
Okay, thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
Are we done, Your Honor?
We're done with that case, sir.
All
Is that the only
right.
one you had?
Yeah, that's my only
Have a good
one.
day. All right, have a good day.
You have a good day too.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, let's see. Next up. Lewis Miners. So let's see, I see Ms. Tennant. And let's see. Make sure if I've got any parents here. Jonathan Lewis. What's the mother's name?
Miss Densmore.
All right, I don't see a Densmore. I don't see a Dakota. I don't see a Jonathan, and I don't see a Lewis. So we've got Mr. Brown here as LGAL, Mr. Kelly representing the mother, Ms. McCluskey representing the father, Mr. Way on behalf of the petitioner, Beth Tennant on behalf of the agency, with a recommendation that the jurisdiction be terminated. Is that still your recommendation, Ms. Tennant?
Yes.
Are there any objections to that recommendation?
No, Your Honor.
No, Your Honor.
Very well. I am going to grant the request and we will terminate jurisdiction today. I still saw a few more people logged in, but I don't see either parent. So I'm assuming they were aware of the recommendation.
Yes, I talked with Mom, and Mom works and Dad works too, so I don't know whether that conflicted. She said she was going to try to be here, but it wasn't definitive.
All right, well, if they show up later, I'll pass on the good news to them. Thank you. Okay, next up is Rhythm Grayson. And let's see. We've got Ms. Pariseau, I know. That.
Yep, I'm here.
Okay, and has Mr. Grayson been participating?
No. I
I
represent,
don't see,
and I've never spoken.
sorry, I don't. All right. I don't see anyone resembling his name. So we've got Mr. Kelly's LGAL, Mr. Brown represents Dad, Ms. McCluskey represents Mom, Mr. Way on behalf of the petitioner, and we have,
Nicole Traver is the worker.
oh, okay, I missed that. We'll let Ms. Traver in right now. And Nicole Traver from the agency. This matter was scheduled today for receipt of a petition seeking termination of parental rights. The court is in receipt of a petition. Has everyone else received one?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, I'm going to schedule the hearing on this termination hearing on Tuesday, March 16th at 1 p.m. Anything else the court needs to address on this file today?
No, Your Honor.
No, thank you, Your Honor.
All right, we'll see you back here on the 16th.
Thank you.
Okay, and next up is Xavier May. got Ms. Cooling. And let's see, do we see any parent here or guardians? Just a second to see what those names are. Stalen. All right, doesn't appear that anyone else is present. So, Mr. Hotchkiss is LGAL. Mr. Brown represents the mother. And Mr. Way for the petitioner. We're here today for the final review hearing following the institution of a juvenile guardianship. Is there any reason that the court should not terminate jurisdiction in the NA case today?
No, Your Honor.
No, Your Honor.
I'll remain silent.
Okay.
Xavier's doing great. I actually just saw him last night. He's very eager to not have a worker anymore and just kind of put this part of his life behind him. So I'm very happy for him and his grandparents.
All right. Well, I will, since the guardianship is in place and has been since our last review hearing, I'm going to terminate jurisdiction in the NA case over Xavier, and we'll continue jurisdiction under the juvenile guardian case. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, and let's see, next up. Highland, Allard, and Patrick minors. I see a Patrick in the waiting room. And I've got a looks like a telephone contact for Mr. Highland. So let me get him on. Just wanted to make sure they hadn't zoomed in. I don't see any indication. I wonder why, because they have that capability now. Yeah. Yeah, that's what they're doing for everything now.
You have reached the Carson City Correctional Facility. If you are calling from a touch-tone phone, press 1. Please dial the 7-digit phone number of the person you wish to speak with, or you may dial 0 for operator assistance.
You cannot be transferred to this number. Check the number and try again.
Please dial the 7-digit phone number of the person you wish to speak with, or you may dial 0 for operator assistance.
Cannot. Wait while I transfer your call. Sorry.
Deanne Gallagher.
is not available, record your message at the tone. When you are finished, hang up or press pound for more options. To send this message, if you would like to try an extension, you may do so now.
Thank you for calling the state operators. Please hold for the next available agent. Your call may be monitored for quality assurance.
The term, but do you know what it means? Put simply, an invasive.
State of Michigan Directory Assistance, how can we help you?
Good morning. This is Judge LaFlamme. I was trying to reach an inmate, Dustin Highland, for a court hearing, and the extension that we were provided didn't work.
Okay, I'm sorry, Judge, but you're no longer speaking to the correctional facility. I'm a telephone operator in Lansing. Your call has been severely misdirected.
The direction said to dial 0, and apparently that got me to you.
Yep, you escaped the facility, the correction system entirely. I'm sorry.
A successful escape. All right.
Yep.
I'll try again. Have a good day, sir.
Yep, sorry about you too. Bye-bye.
No, it's not your writing. They typed it. There's a different extension that I'm going to try. Yeah, that number was right. It's the extension that was wrong. That's what it says. It didn't work.
You have reached the Carson City Correctional Facility. Please dial the 7-digit phone number of
You can speak.
It's not working.
Carson City Court, how can I help you?
This is Judge LaFlamme. I'm having trouble reaching the extension number we were given for involving a prisoner in a court hearing.
Okay, what extension did they give you, sir?
2590325.
Nobody answers there, or?
It said that there was something wrong with that number, that I couldn't reach the number. I got a recording that said it was.
Okay. Do you have the name of the inmate and his 6-digit MDOC number?
Yes, his name is Dustin Highland. His number is 4866566.
Let me see what I can find out. Let me put you on hold for just a second, sir.
Thank you.
486-566, Highland.
That's it.
Land or air? Call the Michigan Department of Environment.
Your Honor, while we're waiting for that, I believe that Danielle Patrick should also be joining via Zoom. I don't know if you see her on there.
Where is she?
Thank you for being our eyes.
I'm not sure, being that she's currently in rehab, so I'm not sure what the name would be under.
Is she at the
Odyssey House,
she at the
Judge.
Okay, I've got the Odyssey House here. That's why I wanted to know where she was. See if this is her. Is this her?
Fish, hunt, hike, ride, or just enjoy a little sunshine. Do your part to recreate responsibly, protect yourself and others, and take care of our natural resources.
And are we expecting anyone else to participate in the hearing?
Recreation passport.
No, Your Honor.
All right.
On the things to do and buy and apply pages at michigan.gov.
All right, we're trying to track down Dustin Highland. The number they gave us for contacting him at the prison didn't work. So we're on hold now while they try to track him down.
It's also critical to help you stay healthy. Health insurance is there to help cover essential health benefits.
So in the meantime, Shannon, we've got Mr. Ray for the petitioner, Mr. Hotchkiss, LGAL, Mr. Brown, who represents the father, Mr. Kelly, who represents the mother, and Ms. Cooling, for the agency. We also have the mother present. And let's see, who's on the other? This is one of the children, obviously.
If you own four,
What are your names? I'm sorry.
Carson and Tony Patrick and Gabrielle Patrick.
Okay. Hi, Gabrielle.
Hi.
Two 292-3939.
Concerned about a Michigan veteran, you can check up on them through
The guardianship that they're requesting with regard to Gabrielle has nothing to do with Mr. Highland. You wanted to address the guardianship with Gabrielle.
all the veterans to their service. Call 800 Michigan. That's 800-642.
Is that the only thing we're up for today?
No.
No.
Okay.
But Gabrielle,
All right,
Mr. Child.
Did you know that about 97 cents of every dollar spent on lottery
All right.
tickets is returned to the state in the form of contributions to Michigan schools, prizes to players, and commissions to retailers and vendors, many of which are small, family-owned businesses. Visit MichiganLottery.com to learn more. Michigan Lottery, for fun, for school.
Okay, so I will address Gabrielle's guardianship. I do have a home study dated or at least filed on December 16th of 2020. And let's see.
We can help you afford a new roof, heating or plumbing updates, septic and sewer replacement.
Is the criminal record check within the home evaluation, or is that furnished separately?
So the actual criminal background check, we don't receive back, Your Honor. I did write a letter indicating that we don't receive those back. However, they are licensed, so they have been verified through our agency to not have any criminal history.
If they encourage a student to confidentially report tips on potentially harmful or criminal activities, whenever and wherever. Tips can be submitted 24 hours a day, 7 days a week by telephone, text message, email, mobile app, or via the OK to Say website. That's michigan.gov/OK. The number 2, say. Let's stand up for student safety. Remember, it's OK to say.
Utility bills are easily among the largest household expenses. Struggling to keep the power on or the heat flowing can be tough, especially if you're going through hard times. Fortunately, there are energy assistance programs available to make these large expenses more manageable. First, contact our utility provider to learn about flexible payment plans. Second, call 211 or your local Michigan Department of Health and Human Services office to learn about state emergency relief. Lastly, visit the MyBridges website, michigan.gov/MyBridges to apply online.
The Michigan Unemployment Insurance Agency is now able to schedule phone appointments for customers who need assistance with select issues. Appointments may be made online at michigan.gov/UIA and guarantee you access to a live customer service agent. For more information, visit michigan.gov/UIA.
Businesses, local government officials, and the public all have access to direct one-on-one assistance in navigating the environmental program.
So, sorry, Ms. Cooling,
Just call 800.
Sir?
yes.
Yeah, what happened is he got upgraded in levels and the call out he got was for a different unit. I'm rounding him up right now, and if you want to call back like at 10:15, he should be at the extension, sir.
Yeah,
I'll get him at the control center.
Hold on just a second. I'm sorry, Mr. Brown, you represent Mr. Highland?
That is true.
do you have any problem with waiving his appearance today since?
I
we're
do
gonna
not.
have
This really doesn't have much to do with him. He's incarcerated, so yes, I would.
All right, officer, his attorney has waived his appearance, so
Okay.
by 10 o'clock, we'll be on to other matters. So to recall this just for this sake, didn't seem like an efficient use of our time or yours.
Okay.
All right.
Copy that.
Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you, sir. Have a good day.
You too. All right, back to the criminal record check. What I'm required to do before I initiate a juvenile guardianship is to require that the agency conduct a criminal record check and central registry clearance. It doesn't say that I actually need a copy of that, but I need to know that one was done with since the last hearing. Can you verify that?
Yes, Your Honor. When we send up the guardianship application, a background check is completed on Ms. Patrick. On Ms. Patrick and Mr. Patrick. That would have been completed in December.
Okay. Well, as long as I have that verification on the record, I do have the updated home study. Everything seems to be in order. Is there any objection to the court initiating the guardianship today? And does everyone believe the guardianship to be in Gabrielle's best interest?
Yes, Your Honor.
Yes, Your Honor.
And Gabrielle, you want me to initiate this guardianship?
You have to speak.
Yes.
Okay, I heard it. That's fine. That works for me. As long as I have an affirmative response. Okay, so I will do that. We'll sign the juvenile guardianship. There will need to be one more review hearing. I cannot terminate jurisdiction until I've conducted another review hearing. We'll set that a short hearing, Shannon. So typically we do that within 28 days. Yeah, it really only needs to address Gabrielle. The other children be on the normal schedule. So February 16th at 8:45, we'll do what I hope to be is the final review hearing for Gabrielle. If everything's going well, I will at that point terminate jurisdiction over her in the NA case. So let's turn to the other children. Let me ask, lost track. Mr. Hotchkiss, how are all these children doing?
Your Honor, the other three children are doing well in the grandparents' home. They're starting to get readjusted and acclimated again. As the court knows, they've been in care for quite some time, over 2 years. That was interrupted in an attempt to reunify the children with the mother. Unfortunately, given the relapse, it looks as if we're back almost to square one, frankly. Mom is struggling with her drug addiction. I don't know how long the court would want to give her to try to get that under control so as to be certain that these children could be returned to her care. I can tell you that there's currently a probation violation warrant for her arrest, and I'm a little suspicious that her sudden enrollment in Odyssey House is an attempt to avoid kind of paying the piper for that charge. Frankly, given the length of time these children have been in care, the in and out of grandparents' home, I think that they deserve some permanence, and I think that permanence is in the home, or should be in the home where they're currently located. The grandparents have indicated that they're willing to provide that permanence. I was a little surprised to see that there wasn't a goal change requested. I have discussed that with Mr. Way, and it's my position that a goal change is appropriate under the circumstances for the reasons I've stated and for all the reasons that are in the report. Thank you.
And let's see, Mr. Brown.
Yes, the children are safe. They're with the grandparents at this point in time. Whether we change the goal or not, it's not going to change anything in this case. I agree with Mr. Hotchkiss. This has been open a long time, and mom continues to struggle. But we were at the point where we were ready to close this case. FRP was in the home. Mom did well for so long. There's no reason why we can't keep this case open. The kids are safe with grandparents, which is mother's parents. My client will be out in less than a year. Thank you.
Mr. Kelly?
Your Honor, relapse is part of recovery, and we've had several cases before where DHS is in and out of families' lives, whether it's by their own doing or whether it's by a nosy neighbor going under the guise of a concerned person. But this is nothing new. Regardless of the motivation, whether there's a warrant out for her arrest or not, she's at Odyssey House and taking the appropriate steps. She had indicated to me when I spoke with her yesterday that in part is an incentive for her to continue and finish the Odyssey House program, where she plans on remaining thereafter in terms of aftercare and potentially mentoring other individuals who have substance abuse issues. She acknowledges she has that going on. She understands that has caused the problems that she's had with her family in the past, initially getting before this court. And part of the problem is the environment she was in, being in Jackson. She has no intention of returning here because of all the triggers and bad influences that befell her before. I would indicate to the court a goal change is not warranted at this point in time. She is present here with her worker at Odyssey House, who I understand provides monthly updates to the agency. I see an update for January, so I'd request of that worker to provide one to the court this morning. I can address some further issues that are stated in the report.
So, Ms. Cooling, what's your assessment as to how mom is currently doing in rehab?
Your Honor, I have not received any updates regarding Ms. Patrick's well-being or how she's doing in treatment currently. I did speak with Mr. Hotchkiss and Mr. Way, and the agency is in agreement to request a goal change at this point due to the circumstances Mr. Hotchkiss has outlined, as well as the concerns outlined in the court report. I'll leave it at that.
So here's what I'm inclined to do today. I want an update from Odyssey House. I just scheduled an early review hearing initially just for Gabrielle. I don't want to address a goal change without Mr. Hyland being able to participate at least in the hearing and perhaps have a conversation with his attorney. And I do agree. If you step back and take a look at this case, this has been open a long time. I realize that recovery for some people is a tougher road than it is for others. We had a mom that was doing well, and then for whatever reason or reasons, we're back here almost to square one. And keeping this case open a lot longer, I don't have a real appetite for, but I don't want to order a goal change today. I want a full report from the Odyssey House as to how mom is doing. And I also want Mr. Highland to be able to participate. I think that's only fair. I don't think he should find out about a goal change as a result of an order received when the report that he got didn't ask for a goal change. So I think in all fairness, he needs to participate in that hearing. So what we'll do is we'll do another review hearing on the date that Shannon already gave you.
Judge, to give you the 16th, I would request it be the 23rd. I won't be here on the 16th, so I would request that it be the 23rd so I can speak with Mr. Highland. Mr. Hurlbert's not going to know enough about this case to speak with Mr. Highland.
That's close enough. March 23rd.
Oh, I thought you said February 6th. You said February 16th on the record.
Oh, well, I guess I wasn't paying attention. What I remember saying is that review hearing is normally 28 days. And that wasn't 28 days, so I'm sorry. Shannon, what date is 28 days out from today? March 2nd, isn't it? It is March 2nd. Are you available on March 2nd, Mr. Brown?
Absolutely. Yep.
All right, we'll do everything on March 2nd. What time, Shannon? Hold on a second.
Okay.
March 2nd. All right, I'm sorry, go ahead.
If I may, I was reading in the report, and they were trying to suspend the phone calls and stuff like that. And
We're not doing that, Danielle.
okay, all right, and you know, I did relapse, you know, and I sat back and listened to everybody, and we have had this open for a very long time, you know, and that's entirely my fault. I self-sabotage. I completely understand that and everything like that, but to do a goal change and stuff like that, I appreciate the extension because I feel that that's completely not appropriate right now, especially for me to take it upon myself and come here, even with a warrant. You know, my warrant, if I may speak on that, is for leaving here, for my attitude, getting mad and leaving last month. So I got an absconding, which she's not going to lift because she wants to see me stay here. So that's what that's for. I'm going to call her. She's probably not going to lift it. She's not going to set me in arraignment with McBain. So I'm going to be here for a while. I have no intentions on leaving here nor coming back to Jackson. And it doesn't have to do with not going to jail at all. It has to do with that I want to get back first and foremost, and my recovery.
What time on the 2nd, Your Honor?
9 a.m. So I will certainly be seriously considering a goal change at that hearing. I do want a full report from the Odyssey House as to how Mom is doing. Excuse me. And I want to make sure that Mr. Highland is able to participate. And that's not his fault that didn't happen today. But hopefully, on March 2nd, we'll.
Thank you, Judge.
So,
Thank you, Judge.
We'll see you all back here on March 2nd. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Your Honor, can I ask one question before we end this case?
Oh.
Sure. Go ahead.
Are we able to discuss the parenting time suspension, or are we going to address that at the next court hearing?
We can discuss it now. What's your? Go ahead.
The agency is requesting a suspension of parenting time, both in person and phone calls. I have provided a letter from Garrett Allard's therapist regarding the concerns for ongoing parenting times at this time. The agency feels it's also in the best interest for the younger children to have suspended visits, as the visits are occurring over phone calls and Zoom in the home. And if Garrett hears that, there's concerns that's going to affect him further. So the agency is requesting suspension of video calls, phone calls, and in-person visits at this time.
Give me a moment to review the letter.
The supervisor.
And so this letter only addresses Garrett. What about the other children?
Correct. So the other children are not in services right now, Your Honor. The agency's stance is that it would not be appropriate for phone calls or Zoom calls to occur while they're occurring in placement's home, as Garrett is in the home and would hear that conversation, and it would further harm him, put him in a situation that would be unfair to him. That's the agency's stance on it, that we would just suspend all the children's parenting times due to the recommendation given by Garrett's therapist.
Your Honor, the children are 8, 3, and 1. If you review the letter from Mr. Hampton, the gist of it is the kid doesn't know what's going to happen, so it's upsetting him. It's not that he's being said things to him by his mother that are completely out of the realm of something that comes up in the conversation. She just hasn't handled it well. And these are also supposed to be supervised phone calls. So I'm not sure what the supervisor is doing in terms of monitoring what's being said, but apparently they're doing a pretty poor job. I've talked to my client about it. She had indicated to me the child had brought up about coming home and where he's going to live. She didn't handle it appropriately, but at the same time, she got zero direction from the worker who was supervising the calls on how to handle something like that. It's not appropriate to suspend parenting time because the child is wondering where he's going to live and his mother is trying to address it. She understands that she's not supposed to talk about those things, not supposed to talk about anything that's even coming remotely close to what's going on in this case. But she's getting no direction from the agency, or no one stepping in to say, you know, Garrett, your mom can't answer that. She can't talk about those things, and redirecting the child. That would take the heat off mom, but that's not being done. Instead, we're coming into the court today blaming mom and requesting suspension of parenting time for an 8-year-old, and then for a 3 and a 1-year-old. It's a little bit extreme, Your Honor. I'd request you deny that request and simply set this over to the next hearing date that you provided for us to revisit this issue if it's still an ongoing matter. Or the alternative, if Mr. Hampton feels so strongly about it, then maybe he should include mom in his sessions with Garrett so Garrett can discuss openly what his concerns are, and he can have mom there so she can appropriately address what's going on with Garrett. It's difficult to have a phone conversation with an 8-year-old in the first place because they probably have a lot of things going on where they're at, but then they also have a lot of questions, and I'm sure he's confused and angry about being removed from his mother's care. But the remedy isn't cutting off all contact with his mother.
Your Honor, if I may, I'm Jessica Hammond. I'm the master level therapist for Danielle. And I did want to speak. Lindsay and I have been in contact, and she has received verbal updates from me regarding Danielle's engagement in treatment and her progress. In addition, when there was a change in the parenting time and it became supervised, I requested additional information for the reasons behind this request and the kind of amping up what was going on. And I was told that it was just being requested. Our agency offered additional support in a way to assist Danielle to handle this better, because that's what we do. And I was absolutely shut down. I was surprised to read the court report at this time, and I don't feel that Danielle's being provided the information in a timely manner to address these things adequately as the mom. This is an extremely difficult situation. Our agency would absolutely support Danielle engaging in family therapy with Garrett in order to address this, make it to be positive. And we're also here to support the parenting time in any way that we can. So I will supply Ms. Cooling with the written report as I promised. But other than that, Danielle was not provided the necessary information to handle this appropriately.
Your Honor, if I may.
No.
Well, I want to ask you a question. Who has been supervising the visits?
Your Honor, I've been supervising the visits and I have stepped in on the occasions where Ms. Patrick has discussed Garrett coming to reside with her at the treatment facility, about how that wasn't appropriate to talk about and that we would discuss that once we have a plan moving forward. At this time, there isn't a plan. I have not been given a written report by Odyssey House. I've only been given a verbal report that was very informative regarding Ms. Patrick's stay there. I also have not been given an assessment regarding Ms. Patrick's plan of treatment at the Odyssey House. Garrett is not just confused, he's also having behaviors in the home that are affecting him. And that is also further why we are requesting suspension.
Your Honor, you just heard directly from the caseworker who 5 minutes ago said, I'm not getting updates from Odyssey House. Oh, wait a minute. Now I'm getting verbal. And then the way she handled the situation with Garrett, you don't address mom, you address Garrett. By addressing mom, Garrett's getting a earful of what mom should or shouldn't be doing. You should be addressing directly with Garrett. Hey, your mother cannot speak with you about these particular topics. You know, it's not something that she can discuss with you. You don't talk to the mother in front of the child about what she shouldn't be doing during a visit. That was handled poorly. No reason for these to be suspended, Your Honor.
Your Honor, if I may, I did tell Garrett that we weren't able to talk about that during the visit. I addressed both of that at the time. Since I am doing a three-way call via Zoom, we're all present during that period of time. It's impossible for us to have a private conversation when we're all on a phone call.
Why you directly address the child and not the mother.
Your Honor, also, just to speak on the fact that Ms. Cooling is stating that she did not know Danielle's plans, that is inaccurate as well. On the 20th of January, we had a family team meeting where Danielle told Lindsay and the supervisor from CPS that she was intending on remaining in Odyssey and then intends also to transfer to our recovery housing and outline some of the additional resources and support we have for once she completes her commitment to our residential program. So again, no, I have not provided a written report, which I stated. However, Ms. Cooling and CPS, the agency, did receive verbal confirmation of the plans as outlined in the FTM.
All right, so here's what I want to have happen. I want Ms. Cooling, I want you to speak to Mr. Hampton directly about the issue of whether or not involving mom at some level in Garrett's problems, Garrett's behaviors, would currently be an aid to helping Garrett process what's going on and the frustration that he's having. If Mr. Hampton sees that as a positive, and I'm going to leave that up to him, he's the therapist, he's the one that's providing the counseling, then I think that should happen. Until Mr. Hampton says that Garrett is ready to resume visits with his mother, other than through a direct involvement in counseling with Mr. Hampton, I am going to suspend visits until Mr. Hampton, with Garrett only, until Mr. Hampton says that it's appropriate for them to resume. I don't see, I think appropriate steps can be taken to protect Garrett in the event of communications with the other children. I don't have anything from a counselor saying visits with the other children are a problem. He only addressed Garrett and said there shouldn't be visits with Garrett. So I am going to suspend, as I've indicated, as to Garrett only. I'm going to encourage the worker to talk to Mr. Hampton. Rather, I'm going to order the worker to talk to Mr. Hampton and encourage him to involve mom in Garrett's therapy to try to address these issues if Mr. Hampton feels Garrett is ready and that he feels that it would be beneficial. Until he says otherwise, visits with mom and Garrett are suspended. We're going to be back here in exactly a month. We'll see what happens then. I am concerned about Garrett's well-being. The child has been whipsawed, and frankly, he's been whipsawed because of mom's inability to stay sober. I mean, this falls in her lap. And my primary concern in this case is for Garrett's well-being. What is best for Garrett? So I'm going to listen very closely to what his counselor has to say. And we will address the issue of further visits. If I order a goal change at the next hearing, there won't be any more visits after that. The visits will end.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Okay, we'll see you back here on March 2nd. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, Shannon, I'll have to sign these guardianship papers later. Okay, next up. Wireman and Westman minors. So let's see who else I need to include in the hearing. We've got Ms. Johnson. Mr. Wireman. And I'm looking to see who else we might be expecting for today. I've got a lot of people waiting out there.
Maybe Nicholas Westman.
I'm not signed in under that name. I've got a couple of phone numbers. Let me find out who these folks are. Well, the one, okay. Who's that telephone ending in 5906? What's your name, please?
Kenneth Katz.
Spell the last name.
DOX.
Okay, sorry, I just didn't hear it clearly. All right, I'm going to
Yeah,
put you
you're
back
right.
in the waiting.
Okay.
Okay, well, we know who that is now. And let's see, I've got an iPhone. Let me see who's there. Okay, I just let an iPhone into the hearing. Well, does anyone recognize her? Ms. Johnson, you're muted. Is this
Hello?
Mom?
Yes,
What's your name?
Kristen McKay.
Sharmika March may also be in the waiting room.
Okay, let me find her.
And Debbie Oberlin may also be in the waiting room.
I don't see either one of them.
Okay.
Here's a device. Let me find out who's at this.
Oh, she's not. She's just listening.
Okay. Does anyone recognize this gentleman?
No.
All right, as soon as I find out who he is. Sir, what is your name?
Clay.
The camouflage hat? I'm sorry, Clay what?
Russell.
All right, hold on, Mr. Russell. I'm gonna put a name on this so I know who you are. I'm gonna put you back in the waiting room. So we're not quite ready for your case.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, let's see if I've got anyone else out there. I've got a Devin. We don't have a Devin on this file, do we?
That's the toll case.
Okay. And then Alicia.
That would be Nick Westman. His significant.
Oh, okay. I'm glad I asked. All right, we're still waiting, I think, on at least one. Mr. Westman, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay,
Hey, where'd it go?
looks like we finally got everybody here. So this is the matter of Wireman and Westman minors. Mr. Brown's the LGAL. Mr. Hotchkiss represents Mr. Westman. Mr. McCluskey represents the mother. Mr. Kelly represents Mr. Wireman. All of the parents are present, and Jackie Johnson is present as well. So let me hear first Mr. Brown. How are these children doing?
They're doing very well. They've been in placement with their maternal aunt, Miss McKay's aunt, for nearly 18 months now. I spoke with her. She provides wonderful care for medically fragile Peyton and her sister, Nakia. Probably couldn't ask for a better placement. I'm glad Mom is doing well. I'm in agreement with the recommendations. Thank you.
Ms. Johnson, any updates for the court?
We did do an overnight visit with Mr. Westman this weekend after receiving the psychological. That went well, and we're going to try to do more of those. Both Ms. McKay and Mr. Wireman have started back in substance abuse treatment. I'm concerned that they wait until right before court to do so.
Mr. Hotchkiss, what is your position on the recommendation?
And I've discussed the recommendations with my client and he's in support of them. Thank you.
Mr. Kelly?
Speaking with Mr. Wireman, he indicates to me that the reference to the 4 visits he missed related to the domestic violence issue with his girlfriend. He indicates to me that case has been dropped and is closed out. He also indicates to me that the other visits he missed related to the request to have him retested in relation to his TB. And that took some time, which resulted in the missed visits. He is re-engaged as indicated by the caseworker. We'd have no objection to the recommendations. He'd request, Your Honor, also consideration for the court for unsupervised parenting time.
And Ms. McCluskey?
Discuss the report and the recommendations with my client. We have no objection. Thank you.
Ms. Johnson, what's your position on unsupervised visits for Mr. Wireman?
When Mr. Wireman attends the visits, he's very nurturing and affectionate. There are no problems during the visit. I'm concerned with what we hear goes on outside of visits. In the other case, I'd like to stay with supervised.
I'm willing to give discretion for unsupervised visits for Mr. Wireman if he remains fully engaged and shows good progress. I'll leave that up to you, Ms. Johnson.
Okay.
I do want to say these children have been in care a substantial period of time. I realize that COVID has made it harder. We're looking at a little longer period, a little more flexibility allowed because of the difficulties that has posed. But we are rapidly approaching a point where the court's going to have to give some serious thought to a goal change. I'm glad to hear that parents are engaged, but we just can't afford to lose any more time. I want each of you to know that I expect 100% engagement for this next reporting period. If I'm going to extend this any longer, there has to be some pretty clear indications that reunification in a reasonable period of time is likely. So I hope you all take to heart what I'm saying. I want you to succeed. I want you to do well, but you have to stay fully engaged. We're running out of time. These children deserve to have permanency, and just it's not healthy for a child to be in this holding pattern for an extended period of time. It's not good for their mental health. It's not good for their emotional health. So I wish you well. I'll implement the recommendations, excuse me, as modified. We will set our next review hearing for April 27 at 9:15. Thank you. Okay, next up is Dominic Toll. I think I've got everyone in. Wait till we had an audio connection with everyone. Looks like we're having a little trouble getting the audio connection with both parents. So we do have Mr. Way for the petitioner. Ms. McCluskey represents mom. Mr. Hotchkiss represents dad. Mr. Brown is LGAL. Ms. Toll is present and looks like we're connected. Mr. Lemble's present, looks like we're connected. Can you each hear me?
Yeah.
Mr. Lemble? It shows that we're connected, but I don't know, maybe he's got his audio settings off. Mr. Lemble, can you hear me? And we have Ms., is it Widener?
Yes, correct.
Okay. Taryn Widener for the agency. So we're still waiting on Mr. Lemble to connect. I don't know that he realizes that he's not connected. Do we have a telephone number for Mr. Lemble?
Yes.
Jenner. Connor, I have a number if you'd like me to give it to you.
Is that the one that ends in 7307?
Yes, sir.
All right, let me give that a try. Clearly, we've got a good video connection, but he can't hear us and I can't hear him. So let's try the phone. All right, the phone didn't ring through. Let me try again.
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can finally. Good.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, my audio.
All right. Looks like we have everyone present now. Mr. Brown, how is Dominic doing?
They are placed with the paternal. He is placed with the paternal grandparents. I spoke with them numerous times. He's doing well in their care. This case is going to obviously come to a custody agreement or custody litigation in another venue. But both parents are seeming to do well with the case service plan. As I've stated before, I'll always have concerns. I've spoke with the counselor for Ms. Toll. The counselor seems to think she's doing very well in therapy. Again, I'll always have concerns based upon what I've talked about before, but I'm in agreement with the recommendations. Thank you.
Ms. McCluskey, what is your position on the recommendation?
I discussed those with my client. We have no objection. I would note she's done exceptionally well. We understand that Mr. Brown has his concerns, but I would also remind the court that my client willingly and immediately signed a release so that he could speak with her counselor. And obviously he got really good feedback. So no objection to recommendations. Thank you.
I think Miss McCluskey's putting words in my mouth. She's doing well in counseling, but I still have my concerns that they're not adequately addressed.
And Mr. Hotchkiss.
Your Honor, my client's primary concern, and I share this concern, is that we continue to give the agency discretion for unsupervised visits, but they're not exercising that discretion and allowing unsupervised visits. By all accounts, he does exceptionally well in his parenting. The report seems to suggest the reason they've not went unsupervised is because a report has not been received from Mr. Hampton, who is Stephen's anger management counselor. However, I'm led to believe that Mr. Hampton has submitted an email suggesting that Mr. Lemble is participating, doing very well, and benefiting from services. And so I've not seen a copy of that email, but I understand it exists, even though a formal report has not been made. I would ask that the court grant my client unsupervised visits. We'd had an early review hearing once before in hopes to accomplish that. That didn't result. However, I think we're in a position to where the court needs to intervene and ask the agency or tell the agency to give my client unsupervised visits. He's done everything that he can. He's not the reason these kids came in, or this child came into care in the first place. Like Mr. Brown, I have concerns about mother, and like Mr. Brown, I'm also aware that these issues are likely going to be resolved in a custody dispute in court once this case closes. Thank you.
I'm in agreement with Mr. Hotchkiss' request.
So Ms. Widener, what is your hesitation on allowing Mr. Lemble to have unsupervised visits?
Yes, so I have received a report from Steve Hampton verbally stating that Devin's making progress, he's engaging. However, I have not received the written report that states that the concerns of the domestic violence has been alleviated. I would just hope that we could have those reports back before considering unsupervised visitation for Devin.
All right, so what I'm going to order then is upon receipt of a report from Mr. Lemble's domestic violence anger management counselor, that Mr. Lemble is indeed making good progress and the domestic violence concerns have been and are being fully addressed such that it would be safe for unsupervised visits to take place, then that the agency should indeed grant unsupervised visits. I think it is important that we see that written report from the counselor. But once that report is received, and if it's favorable, unsupervised visits should begin. I'm also going to authorize a custody order to enter. It will not take effect until I dispose of this case, but either parent may initiate a custody action to establish custody and parenting time. And that way we're not waiting to see what happens and keeping this case open longer than necessary. And we will set our next review hearing for April 27th at 9 a.m. Thank you.
Thank you, Judge.
Okay, next up is Ethan Maldonado. Okay, I don't see either parent present by name, but let me see. I've got a couple devices in here. I just let an iPhone into the hearing. What is your name, please? There's someone in the hearing identified only as iPhone. Can you hear me? Well, apparently they're having trouble making a connection. Let me go on. There's another device. Does anyone recognize this woman?
That might be Mom, Your Honor, the one that's trying to connect. The Moto G Fast. I think that might be Mom.
Okay. Yeah, ma'am, what is your name?
Adrian Blevins.
Well, maybe not.
Okay. I'm going to put a name with your device so I know who you are. And then I'm going to put you back in the waiting room till we call your case. Okay. And again, I've got an iPhone. Can you identify yourself, please?
The iPhone is probably my father or my mother.
Oh, okay, then I won't worry about that one. All right, now let me look back at the list and see if anybody else is signed in. Ms. Weber, are you expecting anyone else in the hearing?
Mom was provided the information for the hearing, whether or not she was going to show up. I'm not positive. I do know that Jerry Booty is currently at the Wesley Street Jail. And when we did have our 24-hour hearing, I do believe that that was set up for him to attend, but I'm not positive.
Well, they're pretty good at bringing them to the phone. Let me call over there and have him brought in.
For the court's information, the last hearing we had before Judge Rapley, Mom was borrowing a phone to appear. So I don't know if she still has any capability to connect, but she was using a gentleman's phone to actually appear at court last time.
And I've had
Mr.
Hurlbert and I have had absolutely no ability to reach her. Phone is out of order. So I've had no communication.
Well, everyone else that's in the waiting room is identified, with the exception, I have one phone that just says Eric's. So let me see who that is.
That's probably Mr. McClinton Austin on the 10 o'clock.
Oh, okay. You know, I think that's right from a prior hearing. All right, so everyone else is identified. I don't see any unknown names, unfamiliar names. So let me get a hold of the jail and have have Mr. Booty brought into the hearing.
How can I help you?
Good morning. This is Judge LaFlamme. Would it be possible to have Jerry Booty brought to my Zoom meeting?
Yes, sir. We'll get him on for you.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, as soon as Mr. Booty shows up, we'll go forward with this. Sometimes that takes a few minutes. I wonder if maybe, what's the next one, Shannon? Yes. Well, it's going to take a while. We'll just wait for him to show up. Let's go ahead with Russell and Rushford. Rushford. Well, it's still going to take him time to bring him to the phone. Let's try Cox. Okay, while we're waiting for the jail, let's go with the Cox miners. Where did that come? All right, I know we've got Mr. Cox in. Let me let him in. Oh, wait a minute. Here we got Wesley is here. So we'll stick with Maldonado. Okay, so let's see. This is a matter of Ethan Maldonado. Oh, looks like we're okay. We've got a connection.
Can you hear me?
Yes, you are Jerry Booty.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so let's see. Mr. Brown, you represent the mother, is that correct?
Yes.
And Ms. McCluskey, you represent Mr. Booty?
I do, Your Honor.
Okay, and let's see. Our worker is Alex Weber. Mr. Kelly is LGAL. And if I remember correctly, this case was in home and there was a subsequent removal. Is that correct?
Yes.
And this dispositional review hearing was scheduled in order to address the removal?
I think Judge Rapley did the dispositional review hearing in one of your emails.
Well, it's on my docket for a dispositional review hearing, so
Okay.
I'm not quite sure what Judge Rapley did. We didn't, in any event, I'm going to treat this as a dispositional review hearing at which the parents have the right to question and to challenge the reasons for the removal. So I guess, Mr. Brown, we'll start with you. I'm assuming the child was removed from her?
Correct.
All right. Do you wish to challenge the reasons for the removal today?
Judge, at this point in time, I've tried to get a hold of Mom, and so has Mr. Hurlbert for 2 weeks. I cannot address that issue. The facts of the case, I will leave that to the discretion of the court.
And Ms. McCluskey, I understand the child wasn't removed from your client, but do you wish to challenge the removal from the mother's care?
Your Honor, I
on
don't believe I'm in a position to argue I don't know the facts. Obviously, I've not spoken to my clients, clearly incarcerated. So, no, at this time, I
The children are with Mr. Booty's parents, so I don't, I wouldn't suspect.
And so, Mr. Booty, let me ask you.
Yes, sir.
I realize the main purpose of the hearing today is to give you and the mother, had she appeared, the ability to challenge the removal of the child from the mother's care as to whether or not that was done with proper reasons, whether it should have happened. Do you yourself wish to challenge the removal from the mother's care?
No, sir.
All right, well, that makes it easy for us then. I do have a report. Let me ask Mr. Kelly, how is Ethan doing?
I spoke with placement. Ethan is doing well. They expressed no concerns. I reviewed the report. I have no objection to the recommendations.
Mr. Brown, do you have any objection to the recommendation?
Judge, I will leave that to the discretion of court since me nor Mr. Hurlbert has been able to reach Miss
Booty.
Miss Booty. I would ask that the caseworker, if she happens to talk to her, to please give our office a call and give us a number where I can speak with her. I would appreciate that. Thank you.
And Ms. McCluskey, well, let me ask, I'm sorry, Ms. Weber, do you have any updates or supplement to your report?
No, Your Honor, I do not.
All right, so Ms. McCluskey, what is your position on the recommendations?
Your Honor, I've reviewed the report. The only recommendation I see as it pertains to my client is supervised visits, I believe, once he's released, which I have no objection to. I would just ask that the agency, if there are any services he can be offered while he's incarcerated, that they do offer those services to him. Thank you.
All right, well, the specific recommendations for Mr. Booty, once he's, well, even if available while he's incarcerated, to participate in AA and NA meetings, and to participate in anger management or group therapy while incarcerated. And I'm assuming if and when he's released, that he would continue those. Suspended parenting time while incarcerated, supervised by DHHS or its designee. Those certainly do appear to be appropriate recommendations. So we'll implement them.
I'm-
We know, Ms. Weber, are any of these services available currently to Mr. Booty while he's incarcerated?
I do not know at this time. That's definitely something that the foster care worker is going to explore with Jerry and service options for him.
Your Honor, just for the record, I'm sorry, I'm looking at a report from the 20th. I must not have gotten an updated report. The court must be looking at. So just for the record, I don't have any objection to those recommendations. Thank you.
All right. The report I'm looking at is dated January 28th.
I do not have that one. Thank you.
All right. Well, they do appear to be appropriate. I'm going to implement them. We will set our next review hearing for April 27th at 9:30. Thank you. That concludes our hearing.
Thank you.
Okay, so let's go ahead and do the Cox minors next, since I've got that file on top. Let's see, we've got Ms. Hines. We've got Mr. Cox. Get him in. Let's see. Are we expecting the mother to participate today? Her name is Serena, is that correct? You're muted, Ms. Hines.
Sorry. She texted and said she was going to be on. Her name is Tiffany Curry, his mom.
Oh, okay. Yeah, she is here. I'm sorry, the child's name is Serena, pardon me. Okay, let's see. Mr. Cox is here. You can hear us, sir?
Yes, I can.
All right, and we're just zooming in on Ms. Curry, waiting for an audio connection. Ms. Hines, were you expecting anyone else?
No, Your Honor.
All right, Ms. Curry, can you hear me?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Thank you. So let's see. We've got, let's see, Ms. McCluskey is LGAL, and Mr. Brown represents Mr. Cox. All right, so let me hear first of all from Ms. McCluskey. How are Michael and Serena doing?
Thank you, Your Honor. I actually reached out to mom twice and kept getting a message that the number was temporarily not in service, so I was not able to reach her. I have talked to her on several occasions about the children. However, obviously no concern with them and her care. I've reviewed the court report. I reviewed the Seatac reports, as well as all of the other information forwarded by the agency. I have no objection to the recommendations. Thank you.
And Ms. Hines, do you have anything to add to your report?
I do not, Your Honor, not at this time.
And given the reports, I guess my question is,
Do I get a turn?
well, yeah, I'm going to give you a chance to answer my question when you speak. It seems to me perhaps we should be looking at a custody order I mean, if the children need services and keeping the case open will get them services, I'm very much sensitive and open to that. But it looks like it's a pretty long road for Mr. Cox. So, Mr. Brown, if you could speak to that.
You know, I don't see why that would be the mindset. Mr. Cox, every service that he has been given, he has done. The only thing that he has not been able to secure is adequate housing. And I've talked to him, and he's very close to receiving housing, a 3-bedroom home. He's going to let the caseworker come and look at it before he obtains it. And the report seems to indicate he's in pre-contemplative stage. I can assume what that means, but Mr. Cox has taken responsibility for this. In the parenting report, it indicates Mr. Cox never said anything about him being responsible for hitting his child because he was never asked. He's always accepted responsibility for what he's done. And every service that he's been asked to do, he's done, and he's done them pretty darn well. So I guess I don't understand the long road. I'm thinking we should have unsupervised parenting time immediately.
Well, let me ask Ms. Hines, what is your view about Dad's progress and the likelihood in any reasonable period of time that these issues can be addressed?
As far as progress, he is engaged. He participates. It's the benefit that is lacking. Like I said, in the previous court hearing, we've been here before for the same type of physical abuse. So the agency wants to make sure that he understands the need to make changes in his discipline. He understands healthy discipline techniques so that we're not back in this situation, that the kids are not put, in another situation where they're being physically abused and adding to their trauma. As far as longevity with this case, the agency would like the results of that neuropsychological to kind of determine his cognitive level and see if we have to provide these services maybe in a different manner to Mr. Cox. We have been providing longer services, extending them. It's in my report to help him just kind of have more time to learn. But the neuropsychological should help us kind of determine his cognitive ability and level.
My concern, Your Honor, given that reference in the psychological evaluation is that if there is a cognitive impairment that qualifies under the ADA, then the agency would be required to provide reasonable accommodations under the recent case law. So I think we want to make sure that we're doing everything we can before closing out the case one way or another.
Well, I certainly want to give the agency every opportunity to make sure that if Mr. Cox needs specialized services, that he is able to get them. I'm just concerned with the volume and the thought that Dad's in pre-contemplative stage at this point. I mean, pre-contemplative means you're only beginning to understand what the issues are and dealing with them. I'm happy to keep the case open to make sure that the children are getting the services that they need, but for how long?
I would ask that you don't adopt that word because I don't see that word used by any professional that's dealing with him. So I would ask that you not adopt that word that's put forth in the report.
Are you speaking of the pre-contemplative word?
Yes.
That comes directly from Dr. Henry in the Seatac reports.
Page 24.
And he did work directly with Mr. Cox and the children.
And I've heard it multiple times. It's usually in the context of a juvenile who's in residential treatment. It's a very preliminary stage to be at, and given as long as the court has had jurisdiction in this case, to be only at a pre-contemplative stage doesn't bode well for when are we going to get beyond that. But in any event, I'm happy to defer to the agency's desire to get the neuropsychological exam results, and I will implement the recommendations. We will set our next review hearing for April 27th at 9:15, and hopefully we will have a better picture then of what the future holds for these children and how much longer they're going to remain under court jurisdiction. April 27th at 9:15. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Okay, next up, Danielson and Rushford. You said mom's in jail, Shannon? All right, let me get a hold of Wesley and get her brought to the meeting. Sarah Webb, right? Yes, this is Judge LaFlamme. Could you bring Farrah Webb to my meeting room?
Zoom? Okay, that's for web.
Farrah Webb, yes.
1 second, they'll be on there.
Thank you very much.
Yes, sir.
Okay, let's see. We've got Ms. Cooling is still here from before. Clay Russell, let me bring him in. Mom's in jail, so as soon as she signs in, good morning, Peter. Ms. Cooling, are we expecting anyone else for the hearing today?
No, Your Honor.
All right, well, as soon as Ms. Webb shows up in the waiting room, I'll bring her in and we'll proceed.
Sorry, 1 moment. I'm sorry, I couldn't hear from inside the building. There's semis out here running, so I don't think it's going to help much.
That's all right, Mr. Russell. We're waiting on Ms. Webb to be brought into the meeting room.
Well, I'm sorry.
We're waiting for Ms. Webb. She's in jail.
Oh, yes. Yes,
We won't,
I'm
we
aware.
won't
She,
proceed. We won't proceed with your case until she's here.
okay.
While we're waiting, let's see if we can't get a post-term or two done. Let's try Hayden Joyner first. Okay, so let's see, Hayden Joyner. Let's see who I need for this. Danielle Legore. I do not see her. Do you know if someone else is covering for her today?
Your Honor, she did email me. She said she just received the adoption order for Hayden. So I don't know that there's a need for, but I told her it was still on the docket. I hadn't heard from her since then.
It seems to me I signed the pre-adoptive placement. I don't think I did an adoption order. I don't remember doing one. I signed something.
No, I remember the last time we had court. It was mentioned this whole 3 months of me not being able to see my son, and
Hold on,
actually
Mr. Russell. Mr. Russell, I'm calling a different case while we're waiting on Ms. Webb.
Oh,
I'm going to put you back in the waiting room. I'll bring you in when it's time.
I told Ms. Legore that the hearing was on the docket, so she should appear, but I haven't heard from her since.
All right. Yeah, I know I saw some paperwork on Hayden. I think it was yesterday. But I'm pretty sure it wasn't the finalization of the adoption, which would be right around the corner. Usually there's not a lot of lag between me doing the pre-adoptive placement and the finalization, but I'm pretty sure it has not been finalized. Who else? Maria Kleckner, I think, is here. Let me bring her in. Okay, Ms. Kleckner, we're here on the matter of Hayden Joyner. And let's see, I don't have anything that tells me who's LGAL on this file.
Oh, give me 1 second. I can tell you. It's Tim Williams.
Oh, great. Well, he's not here. Well, in any event, I'm pretty sure I just signed pre-adoptive placement. When are we looking at finalization?
That's correct, Your Honor. I think you signed it yesterday. So he is in adoptive placement as of yesterday, and there is a pending appeal on behalf of the biological mother. So we are just waiting for that appeal process to move through the Court of Appeals.
All right, and how is Hayden doing?
He's doing extremely well. Yep, he's placed with paternal grandmother, and the two of them are very closely bonded, and Hayden's doing extremely well there.
All right. Well, I'm going to implement the recommendations. I will set our next review hearing for April 27th at 8:45. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, and looks like we're ready to go back on Russell and Rushford. So I see Mom is here. Let me get her in. And we'll let Mr. Russell back in.
Can you hear me?
Okay, I can. We are now on the record in the matter of David Russell and Ray Rushford. And let's see, we have Ms. McCluskey is LGAL. Mr. Hotchkiss represents Ms. Webb. And so, Ms. Webb, I'm going to mute your microphone. We're getting some feedback, but if you need to say something, I'll give you a chance, okay? And Mr. Kelly represents the father. Is that Mr. Russell?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so let's start. Ms. McCluskey, how are these children doing?
Rain's doing very well. He's growing, hitting milestones, just started walking and climbing and getting into everything. So there are no concerns there. Obviously, we know David has some struggles. I do believe the agencies indicated that Dr. Henry said this is one of the most traumatized children he's seen in quite some time. And there are some significant behaviors. This placement I have no concerns with. They're well equipped to handle the behaviors at this time. Whether or not they can provide permanency for David, I think may be in question. There's a lot going on there. But he's working with a therapist. It sounds like that's going okay. He's not making a ton of progress. But it's a great placement. I've reviewed the report. I have no objection to the recommendations. Thank you.
And Mr. Hotchkiss, what is your position on the recommendations?
I've not discussed the report or its contents with my client. I can only imagine that she is not in support of the recommendation for a goal change. If the court does grant that request, then I will meet with her with the petition and we'll go over it and prepare accordingly. But as of this time, I don't have any comment. Thank you.
Thank you. And Mr. Kelly.
Your Honor, I had spoke with Mr. Russell the other day. We're not in agreement with a goal change. We just had disposition not even a year ago, and the court has routinely held cases open for longer than a year to give the parents opportunities that unfortunately seem to run into a bunch of hiccups or trips in their working of the case service plan. My client indicates to me that he has contacted Mr. Hampton, who apparently is out of state, Arizona, on vacation, to work with him on the therapy. So he is engaging in services. He's just not doing that great of a job with it. I think at this point it's might be a little bit premature.
Also, I'm
in
sorry.
reviewing the Seatac evaluation, Your Honor, typically they have parents participate in those things. There's no indication at all, and in talking with Mr. Russell, there's no indication that he was offered an opportunity to participate or otherwise participate in that assessment. So all the information gathered was essentially from placement. So I'm not sure if it's a fair assessment in relation to the history there. This case was essentially for my client issues with alcohol and homelessness. And now in the Seatac assessment, it talks about other things beyond that, such as exposure to domestic violence. I'm not sure where that's coming from outside of something that the placement is coming up with. Because again, neither parent was interviewed during this process. So I would request of the court at least another report period to allow my client to re-engage in services and work with Mr. Hampton. Because these cases are not only about the safety of the children, which they are being safe, appropriately protected at this time. But it's also given the parents the opportunity to get their life straightened out, so they can move forward, and not only in their personal lives, but also as parents to these children. Thank you.
And Ms. Cooling, did you have anything to add to your report?
I do not have anything to add to the report, Your Honor. I would like to comment that Seatac does not involve the birth parents in the initial Seatac assessment. It is only the child, just to clarify that.
Which is odd, Your Honor. In my years of doing this, I've had several parents participate in the assessments, but apparently not with this worker.
All right. Well,
Also, I want to mention, sir, I'm sorry to interrupt. I've also began my in-home parenting classes, which were, it seems they were only offered to me a couple of weeks ago. I've been struggling to try to find this resource and that resource and try to make things work around my work schedule. And now all of a sudden last week, I'm informed that they're going for termination. And something was dropped to me like a scrap of meat. Oh, here you go. You don't have to do your parenting classes here between this time in the afternoon and that time. I have an in-home parenting class option for you. They'll work around your schedule. Just what I've been wanting for months, and it was just offered to me last week.
well, I am going to order that services continue, but I am also going to set a date for receipt of a termination petition. This trauma assessment is extremely concerning and disturbing. There's no way a child exhibiting those kind of behaviors unless that child has been subjected to serious trauma.
As you yourself mentioned last time we spoke, Your Honor, he has spent very little time with me ever since Miss Webb and I broke up due to the domestic case over 3 years ago. I've barely seen my son in over 3 years. He lived with me for about a month, and that's the most I've seen of him. And I worked 12, 14, 16 hours a day, almost every single day of that month. And that was the most time I've gotten to spend with my son.
Well, that's something I would certainly take into account, sir, in deciding whether or not at a termination hearing, whether termination is appropriate. But this child is going to need a whole lot more than what an average normal child growing up in a normal household is going to get.
Yeah, believe me, I understand.
The level of trauma that is described in this trauma assessment is very disturbing to the court.
Yeah,
I will certainly listen to whatever arguments parents have or their attorneys have, as
Okay.
I'm considering what termination is called for. But I think at this stage, given the amount of time that the child has been in care, and given where the child is today in terms of emotional and mental health, I think a goal change is appropriate. So I'm going to order that. We will. I'll expect a termination petition to be filed on February 9th at 9 a.m. In the meantime, I am going to set a review hearing date if necessary. If the court ultimately does not proceed with termination, that review hearing will be on April 27th, 9 a.m.
Your Honor,
But as I indicate, services may continue. Yes, Ms. Cooling?
could you repeat the date you would like to receive the termination petition, have it filed?
February 9th at 9 a.m.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. That concludes our hearing.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good day, sir.
Ms. Webb wants to say something. I'm gonna let her.
Hi, can you hear me?
I can.
Hi, I just want to let you know that I love my son tremendously, and I'm really gonna step up, and I'm gonna do every single drug test, and I'm not gonna let any drama, and I'm not gonna let anything slow down, me being a mother to David, and I'm gonna make sure I don't interact with certain people, and I'm gonna make sure that I apply everything I've learned over the years, and I just want to let you know that I'm 100% behind my children, and they mean the world to me, and I don't want to live without them, and so I'm gonna take this super serious, and I'm gonna make sure I do every single drug test, and I'm gonna prove that to you going forward from today, and I should be getting out of jail today, and I'm in here, and I shouldn't have, I shouldn't have been in here this long. It's a mishap, but I'll make sure that I'm doing every drug test and every single thing for my children going forward. And I don't want to let him down at all. And any one of my children, and I'm going to get them all back together. And I'm going to do everything I can, I promise.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. That concludes our hearing.
Thank you, Judge.
Okay, next up, Trenton and Daisy Prater. So, Mr. Williams, I'm assuming you were here on the Joyner matter?
Yes, Your Honor.
I went ahead with that. I actually signed pre-adoptive placements yesterday, although we do have a competing party. So we're looking at March, hopefully, for finalization. I approve the recommendations based on the report of the adoption worker.
All right, thank you. Sorry I was late. It looks like there is a date set for, I was trying to find it, but coming up for the Court of Appeals. So hopefully we'll have some permanency here shortly.
You're right, there was an appeal file. Sorry, Shannon. Shannon wants to know if you've been getting the notices that she sends out.
Yeah, I have. It's not her fault. I just was knee deep into something and lost track of time. So my apologies.
Okay, no problem. Have a good day.
All right, thank you.
Okay, and let's see. So we have Ms. Jennings and Ms. Freeberg here on the Trenton and Daisy Prater matter. And I don't have anything that tells me who the LGAL is. Who's LGAL on this one?
That's me, Your Honor, Rebecca.
Ms. McCluskey, how are Trenton and Daisy doing?
From what I could gather, they're doing fairly well, especially Trenton, considering what's been going on for a year to a year and a half with Trenton. I reached out, so the court obviously remembers Daisy is now going to transition to her uncle's home. It sounds like that is actually going well. I reached out to him and I did not receive a communication back, so I wasn't able to check with him directly. But according to Ms. Freeberg, that is going well, and Daisy's adjusting well to those visits. Trenton is doing a whole lot better. The extreme behaviors we've been seeing have alleviated quite a bit. It sounds like he is willingly spending time with his aunt, who will now be his pre-adoptive placement. He's going willingly. When he does resist, he within hours or a day or so will ask to go visit. So it's going well. Obviously, everyone's concerned about the actual move, but it has to happen. So I'm just glad that the agency and everyone has worked hard to come to this resolution with these children, because this has been a long road. I have no objection to the recommendations. Thank you.
So Ms. Jennings or Ms. Freeberg, either one, realistically, what are we looking at for a time frame for Trenton's actual move into his uncle's home?
We are meeting on Thursday for a family team meeting to get more specifics, details on when we're going to do it, but I'm hoping it will be at least within this month. It will depend on how Trenton reacts to the move, if he resists, and we have to push back a little bit more, but we definitely want to make it happen as soon as possible.
So visits up till now recently have been in what duration?
He does mostly day visits, but he has agreed to stay with overnights. The placement and the aunt have kind of tried to make it more voluntary for him so that we can avoid the intensity of behaviors that happened previously, and that has gone well with helping him be more willing to go to visits.
Ms. Freeberg, did you have anything to add?
No, nothing to add to that.
All right, well, I am glad to see that Trenton is finally making some progress. It would certainly appear that this go slow approach, although obviously it's taking a lot longer than anyone would wish, appears to be beneficial and certainly would merit a continued approach so that Trenton feels more in control of his life. Not that we want to give him complete control, but I'm sure that's better for his mental health. And I'm glad to see that the uncle has stuck with this all this time. I will implement the recommendations. We'll set our next review hearing for April 27 at 8:45. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Oh. Okay, next up is Christian Gibson. Let me, I'm told Dad's in jail. Let me have him brought into the meeting. Hello?
Kind of, Jeff, what's the third comment?
Good morning, this is Judge LaFlamme.
Morning, sir.
Could you possibly bring Shane Gibson into my Zoom hearing?
Absolutely can.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, and let's see, let me see who else is here. Ms. Blair. Okay, this is the matter of Christian Gibson. We've got Ms. McCluskey is LGAL. Mr. Brown represents the father. Mr. Kelly represents the mother. The mother is present. And we are waiting on Dad, and he looks like he's here now. Wesley has just signed in. So as soon as Mr. Gibson appears, we'll be able to proceed. So, Mr. Way, while we're waiting, how do things look for this afternoon?
So, Your Honor, on the ball miners, I think that's probably going to be an adjournment for a variety of reasons. We just filed an amended petition. Mr. Ball, I think maybe hiring a new attorney. I'm not sure on McGuire. I guess I was going to ask the other attorneys what we were doing on that this afternoon.
All right. Okay, so Mr. Gibson, you can hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you.
All right, I'm going to mute the microphone on this. I'll give you a chance to speak if it's necessary, but there's a lot of background noise coming in from the jail. Okay, so let me hear from Ms. McCluskey. How is Christian doing?
Your Honor, I tried twice to call Mom. Her voicemail box is full, so I wasn't able to reach her or leave a voicemail. So I have not spoken to her. I did review the court report, and I have no objection to the recommendations. Obviously, would like to see a little more progress, but thank you.
Okay, and Ms. Blair, can you tell me how Christian is doing?
Yes, he's doing really well. We have FTBS in the home now. And last week when I seen them after finishing Families First, he told me that he did like Miss Denise a little bit better than the new worker, but he's willing to work with Amber Doberstein, who's the new FTBS worker. And he seems to be doing really well. School was going a little bit hard for him, but that's with the virtual school. Everything has been a little bit difficult, but he's seeming to get back on track and everything seems to be going great.
Well, that's good to hear. Mr. Kelly, what's your position on the recommendations?
Your Honor, I spoke to Mom. She's doing well and making the progress she needs to make and the adjustments she needs to make in relation to the service plan. I have no objection to the recommendations. Thank you.
You and Mr. Brown.
Judge, obviously my client is incarcerated and cannot engage in the treatment plan at this point in time. Hopefully he will be released in a short period. I would ask Mr. Gibson, when you are released, if you would contact me and give me contact information so I can contact you and let me know when you're released so we can converse on this matter. Other than that, until he's released, he cannot do any services. So I won't object to the recommendations.
All right, and Mr. Gibson, also when you are released, make sure you get a hold of the worker right away as well, so that we can facilitate your receiving the services that are ordered. I'm going to I'm going to set our next review hearing for April 27th at 9:30. So, Mr. Gibson, I'm gonna ask you if you had any questions for the court. I know I had you muted.
No, I don't.
Okay, that concludes our hearing.
Miss
Thank you.
Judge, I do have a few updates just to the court report that I received this morning.
Oh, I'm sorry, Ms. Blair. Go ahead. I usually ask that.
No, that's fine. I did receive confirmation that Courtney Whitney has scheduled her psychological evaluation. It's occurring the 8th of February, so we should have that report back by the next hearing date. She has also engaged in substance abuse treatments through Henry Ford Allegiance Health. There was a few issues with communication between them, but she did receive her initial intake and will be contacting them again this week, as there was another positive drug screen. It was the one that says in progress from 114. It was positive for methamphetamine again. However, we talked about that. She was honest with me about her use, and she admitted to using. So she's going to continue to re-engage and work with Henry Ford substance abuse treatments to continue moving on the correct track.
Okay, thank you. We'll see you all back here on, I think I gave you the date.
Yep, the 27th.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you, Judge.
That concludes our hearing. Okay, and last up, Spence, Austin, and Blevins minors. I'm gonna let in everyone that's waiting.
Anybody on the McGuire here or case this afternoon have an idea what we're gonna do?
As for mom, I spoke to her a while ago. And we talked about a plea, and then I reached out to her again, I think 2 days ago, and I have not gotten a return call. I'll try her again on the lunch break, but I can't confirm with her.
Okay.
Matt, that's essentially the same with my client. He was going to do a no contest plea last we discussed. I've tried to contact him just to get an update and haven't heard back, but I suspect that's still the case. I told him to contact me if he changed his mind.
Okay. It should be a short afternoon, Your Honor.
Okay, so looks like we've got everyone present for the Austin, Spence, and Blevins minors. We've got the mother present. We've got, looks like Mr. McClinton Austin. Is that you, sir?
Yes.
All right. And let's see. Ms. Taylor for the agency. Ms. McCluskey for mom. Mr. Kelly for dad. And Mr. Hotchkiss, LGAL. So Mr. Hotchkiss, how are all these children doing?
Your Honor, this is an early review hearing, as I'm sure you know. I just got all the information on this within the last day or two. I've reviewed the report. It's extremely concerning to me, and quite frankly, in reading the report, I'm a little surprised that the agency is not removing these children, frankly. The circumstances surrounding the incident, which was a robbery incident where mom was in the vehicle when that occurred, and all of the other issues, the instability in the home, the fact that there's not a permanent home, caused me a great deal of concern. But I will admit to the court that I've not had any contact with these children just because I wasn't aware in enough time to schedule that. But the agency is essentially asking for a 50-50 custody kind of arrangement, which I've not seen in an abuse and neglect case before, but I talked or conversed a little bit with Mr. Way regarding this, and I think what they're essentially trying to do is get mom and dad to maybe divide up the time and have a set schedule. That would have to occur through the NA court as opposed to the custody court, as the NA has jurisdiction now. So I don't know if the court's inclined to do that. I will defer to the agency's decision to leave these children placed with mom, but again, I have a great deal of concern just based upon the content of their report. Thank you.
And Ms. Tyler, do you have any additional information for the court beyond your report?
I don't have any additional information beyond my report, but Mr. Hoskins was correct. I was trying to basically alleviate the time that the children were spending with Miss Blevins, because it's a constant, the parents are constant in a discord situation where the kid should be here, or the kid should be there, or no, it's my time, no, it's their time, and so on and so forth. I agree with Mr. Hoskins also that I also felt like, I mean, there was a lot going on, but I did meet with Mr. Way, and I met with my supervisor and a director, and we all thought that this would be in the best interest of the children moving forward. Now, if something changes within the time period of our next review hearing, then I can bring that to the court's attention.
So currently, are the children spending time with both parents?
Yes, so currently the children spend time with all the parents. Like, so I think I checked in with Eric yesterday, and he had Hazel. No, excuse me, he had Mateo and Hazel for a moment, and then Mrs. Blevins went and picked up Hazel, if I'm not mistaken, because they both are sick. So, because you got tested for COVID, isn't that right, Adrian?
Yes, I got my results yesterday.
Yes, and then Lonnie has Gracie, and then Mrs. Blevins' mother has Alex and Bryson. And this is normal. So when it's time to check in on the kids, I have to kind of check in with all parties involved to actually see exactly where the children are.
But the absence of a specific parenting time schedule is itself creating opportunities for conflict, which obviously exposes the children to arguments and potentially domestic violence if it gets out of hand.
Yes, what my thought pattern was in the agencies is to create stability. So if there was a parenting time schedule, Adrian would know, you know, this is my week. I'm responsible for my kids this week, and these are the arrangements that I need to make for the kids moving forward. And then Eric would know that this is his time, and he would do the same thing, versus, you know, I need you to do this, or I need you to do this, or come get this person to do this, or it's unfair that you dropped them off, or you need to come pick them up. So I'm just trying to create stability for the children.
So are all three fathers involved and seeing their children?
Currently Desmond is incarcerated. However, Desmond is the legal father of Mateo, but Eric is the biological father of Mateo.
Give me just a second, because I'm
So
seeing
it's Mateo
another name.
Blevins.
I'm seeing a Vaughn Parker as a father.
So if you read further down, he was an alleged father during that time frame. However, Adrian did identify Mr. Austin as Mateo's biological father. However, she allowed Desmond Salisbury to sign his birth certificate as his legal father.
Mateo's legal father.
Yes, so Desmond Salisbury is Mateo's legal father. However, Eric McClendon Austin is his biological father. So Mateo spends time with Eric with Hazel.
And no time with Mr. Salisbury.
No.
So I don't mind investing a little time in trying to come up with to help the parties reach a custody order. If it would help to alleviate some of the conflicts that we're seeing. Clearly, children need stability. They need to know where they're going to be on a certain day or a week. And constantly going back and forth, not knowing where I'm going to be today or tomorrow is very unsettling for children. If we could come up with a schedule that works for everyone, Ms. Blevins, is that something you would be receptive to?
Yes. Right now I have the COVID, but yes. I have been open to that. I have tried to reach out to Lonnie to figure out times. I do have a job, and I have a job that I can work around the schedule. I work on the weekends, so we can really work out a schedule. It's just trying to get to that point is the issue.
So currently the children aren't seeing you because you have COVID and you don't want to expose them, correct?
Yes.
So right now, all of the children are with their fathers.
With their fathers. 2 of them are with my mother. They went up there to go snowmobiling this weekend, and they just stayed with her when I found out that I had the COVID.
So let me see if I can get this straight. The only child here that is Mr. McClinton Austin's child is Hazel, is that correct?
Yeah, that's the only legal child he has.
But does he also spend time with any of the other children?
He has Mateo also. Mateo is his biological son, just not legal.
And the reason Mr. Salisbury is the legal father is that the 2 of you signed an affidavit of parentage?
Yes.
Yes, we agreed that he was able to sign on as his father when they were together. I had a doing and agreeing to that.
But now he's out of the picture?
He is actually incarcerated for the unarmed robbery.
What did you say, Mama?
Well, it gets a little challenging, but it's certainly possible to fix the paternity issue.
I've already talked to Desmond on the phone. Desmond is open to allowing Eric McClinton Austin to be the father to Mateo. It's just the paperwork is a process. Yes.
Well, I think it's more than just paperwork. You're going to have to file an action with the court.
Yes.
And I think Mr. Austin certainly has the ability to do that as the biological father, but that's not something I do. I can preside over that kind of a proceeding, but somebody has to actually start the case.
Yes.
And I think Mr. Austin would be the one to do that. It's a lawsuit to revoke paternity, and I think he is a proper party to bring that. It's a difficult thing to navigate if you're not an attorney, but it seems to me that's probably what needs to happen here. That's going to complicate things for Mateo. And is Mr. Spence in the picture? Is he exercising parenting time?
Yes.
And there's no question he is Bryson, Alexander, and Gracie's father, correct?
Yes.
All right. I'm not going to be able to do anything in a court proceeding regarding Mateo until you get the issue of paternity resolved. I could conceivably with the other children. And I'm wondering whether or not it's possible for me to get our friend of the court conciliator involved in sitting down with the three of you, Eric, Lonnie, and you, Ms. Blevins,
Yes.
to try to work out a consistent schedule. Obviously, we want to wait until you're completely free of COVID. But I will make some inquiry as to whether or not we can set up a conciliation conference informally that involves the three of you.
Okay.
So I'll take a little time to see if I can accomplish that. It's a little bit unusual, but I think they will try to be accommodating to us. Okay, so does anyone have objections to the recommendations that are before us?
No.
Oh,
No,
you're
Your Honor, I just, I wanted to comment a little bit on Mr. Hotchkiss's comment. We requested an early review hearing in this case in part. We've been trying to do that more often in these cases to just stress to the parents the importance of their complete cooperation, because if they do not cooperate, we're going to have no choice but to remove in the very near future. So that's kind of where we're at right now.
And Your Honor, on behalf of my client, I did search all of the children's names and the file number. I note that Miss Carroll asked for an updated court report on January 28th. I did not receive that, so I'm not sure what the recommendations are. If there are no new recommendations, as to my client, I obviously would have no objection, but unless it's titled something like benign court report, I would never find that in my inbox. So I can't seem to locate that.
So the recommendations for Ms. Blevins are to complete a mental health assessment with Lifeways and follow the recommendations, participate in individual counseling, parenting education, substance abuse services through family services, sign all release forms, and a legal parenting time order. That's going to be challenging. I'm going to at least take the initiative to see if I can't get some mechanism in place so that can happen.
I guess I would just ask Mr. Way or the court, is the substance abuse assessment, is that new? And are there concerns? Because I was not.
Okay. Can I share?
There wasn't a recommendation for substance abuse assessment. It was substance abuse services. But anyway, yes, go ahead.
I have went to my substance abuse classes, and I was seeing a therapist through the substance abuse classes, which was also addressing my mental health. And then I got close with that therapist, and now I'm being told that I do not see that therapist anymore. Now I have to restart everything to go through Lifeways. So I asked her the other day if I still had to proceed with my substance abuse classes, which is because of marijuana. It's not to do with anything else besides marijuana. And now that's where I'm at, is trying to get into Lifeways for my assessment. That's where I'm at.
So I guess that's my question. If this is ongoing, if it's just for a legal substance, are the
Can I
continued?
please speak? So
Yeah,
Adrian completed a psychological evaluation with Dr. Louder. Part of Dr. Louder's recommendations were for Adrian to complete a substance abuse assessment, which was on the court order for December 15th, which a judge adopted, and it was sent out. The court report was sent out yesterday. So I apologize if you didn't receive it, but it was sent out yesterday. And so because those services were not done, I also put them down for recommendations this time. Adrian has completed the assessment and she was supposed to see Shannon Douglas. I have called Family Services and Children's Aid not once, but twice to verify Mrs. Blevins' attendance and services. I talked to two separate individuals and both of them told me that Adrian had only three appointments with Mrs. Douglas, and she no-showed each appointment. Yes, she completed the assessment, but she did not engage in the treatment with Mrs. Douglas. It was also on the psychological for Adrian to reach out to Lifeways because she has a diagnosis for bipolar, and she also has an issue with her thyroid. Dr. Louder thought it would be beneficial for Adrian to complete an assessment at Lifeway so that she could, in fact, work with someone to make sure that she has the correct medication to address her mental health issues. So this is why she was referred to Lifeways.
Okay. And
they're all Dr. Louder's recommendations.
Was that psychological evaluation provided to me?
Yes, I can send you another one, but I sent those to you. That was part of last reporting period, which was December 15th.
Okay, I do have that court report for December 15th. I do not see a psychological evaluation. And if you do send it again, Ms. Tyler, could you just make sure the minor's names and or the case number is always in the subject line?
I always put it in the subject line. I put their case number and I'll make sure to get you a copy.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Anyone else want to weigh into the recommendations?
Oh, Your Honor, thank you.
Right, based on all I've heard today, they appear appropriate. I will implement each of them. And as I indicated, I will get back to you on what we can do in terms of scheduling some kind of conciliation to get an order in place. And we're currently scheduled for a review hearing on March 9th. I'd like to keep that in place. March 9th at 8:45, so just a little over a month away from now. And hopefully things will have settled down by then and we'll have some good answers for at least regulating, standardizing the parenting time schedule. Anything else that anyone wants the court to address today?
No, thank you, Your Honor.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. That concludes our hearing. Have a good day, everyone.
You as well.
Can I speak with you quick on another matter off
Certainly. Let me
the YouTube?